And welcome into the Commanders Replacement Squad series, where we're not replacements any longer. This is the team, and we're going to start building from where we are with what we're allowed to do. There is a lot of things that will carry over from the first episode of this series, where we were dealt a harsh blow by Roger Goodell and the fellow ownership group. We were a 63 overall team, and we finished 6-11, beating some really good teams along the way, including last episode where we beat top of our division, the Cowboys, knocking them down to 12-15. They still won the division, still are in the postseason, but they did not make it to the Super Bowl. That will be with the Colts and the Buccaneers. But we start our offseason here today with the Pro Bowl. I'm sure we have at least one person on this roster, and I'm hoping that one person is going to see a nice boost up to an X Factor. But let's start by running through these rosters real quick. The quarterbacks: Rodgers, Hurts, and Prescott, Mahomes, Jones, and Herbert. Running backs are going to be Elliott, Barkley, and Kamara, Mixon, Etienne, and Henry. Fullbacks: Ham, Stanton, Arma Jr., haven't seen that name, and Nall. Receivers are Kupp, Smith, Jefferson, St. Brown, McLaurin, and Thielen. And Allen, Pickens, Higgins, Mechie, Wilson, and Juju Smith-Schuster. At tight end, Ertz, Tanyan, Schultz, Henry, Kelsey, Ingram. The offensive line, starting at left tackle: Williams, Bakhtiari, Stanley, and Tunsil. Left guard: Jenkins, Dickerson, Bitonio, and Thuney. Center: Kelsey, Hudson, Humphrey, and Andrews. Right guard: Martin, Lindstrom, Onwenu, and Teller. Right tackles: Johnson, O'Neal, Wynn, and Collins. And at left end, there he is, Shaka Toney. In his first season, I'm pretty sure he was a rookie, makes it to the Pro Bowl after a 19.5 sack season. Also had, I think, 7 or 8 tackles for a loss. He's also there with Burns, Russo, and Franklin Myers. At right end, there's Donald, Bosa, Garrett, and Hayward. DTs: Clark, Lawrence, Brown, Jones, Williams, and Oliver. Left ends are Hunter, Floyd, Crosby, and Allen, with the right ends being Van Ginkel, Parsons, Mack, and Milano. Inside backers are Kendricks, Hicks. Weird, both the Vikings linebackers in this universe make it. That's cool. Long Jr. and Jack. At cornerback, we have Maddox, Okuda, Peterson, and Ramsey. Awuzie, Sneed, Fulton, and Jones. Safeties, they do not get our guy, but Epps, Jackson, Smith, and Chin. Thornhill, Hyde, Hamilton, and Moring. As for the special teams, there's Elliott and Hecker, kicker and punter, Tucker and Stout, same people, and then returners are Pollard and Cephas, Haskins, and Evans. So only one guy, which we knew it was going to be Shaka Toney for sure. But the real question is did he win any awards by himself? NFL MVP is Patrick Mahomes, with Coach of the Year being Peter Gaffney. As for NFC Offensive Player of the Year goes to Cooper Kupp. Defensive Player of the Year goes to Aaron Donald, with our Shaka Toney at 3. Offensive Rookie is Wan'Dale Robinson. Stone Smart was at 6, with Max Borghi at 7. And Defensive Rookie of the Year was Aiden Hutchinson. And considering that Shaka Toney's not on that list, I'm assuming he wasn't actually a rookie, so probably a second-year player, because I know he's on the younger side. Best quarterback, Jalen Hurts. Best running back, Zeke Elliott. Best receiver, Cooper Kupp. Best O-line, Zach Martin. Best D-line, Aaron Donald, with Shaka Toney at 3 once again. Best linebacker, Andrew Van Ginkel. Best DB, Marcus Epps. And best kicker, Brett Maher. So no, we don't win any of the individual awards. We'll run through the AFC. I'll just click through these so you could take a look. Really unfortunate that Shaka Toney doesn't end up getting any of the other awards. He was in 3rd place in 2 different categories though, so it's still good, but that might mean that he doesn't move up to an X Factor. And the Super Bowl winner are the Buccaneers, winning 37-31 over the Colts. And the cornerback, Jamil Dean, is the Super Bowl MVP. Interesting. But we are now officially in the offseason. So I just have to check. If we go over to our adjust lineup, please tell me Shaka Toney moved up to an X Factor. He played such an amazing first season. No one on our offense is anything but a normal dev, but on defense, Shaka Toney stays at a superstar. Was really hoping he would move up. And I feel like J.R. Reed moved up to a star at some point of the season. Did he regress and lose his star dev? Yeah. Okay, I don't quite know why. That's really unfortunate, but Shaka Toney now is back again being our only dev player higher than a normal. But now the real offseason begins, and that is signing our players, and we have basically our entire roster we have to re-sign. We have 163 million in cap space, so we'll have all the ability to do so, and a lot of these guys we weren't able to negotiate with in season. The first two I definitely want to make sure we get a contract negotiated with. J.R. Reed was, I feel like, our second best player on defense. Max Borghi, obviously our best on offense, and he played really well. So I definitely want to make sure we lock him in, and we'll give him a pretty decent deal as well. 3 million a season for 4 years. I mean, that sounds pretty good. Again, only a 67 overall, so it should be a really good deal, and he'll take it. As for J.R. Reed, he is 27, so I feel like we could give him a 3-year deal. Maybe nothing as splashy as what we just gave Borghi, but I feel like this would still be pretty solid. He feels like it's a great contract, so he'll stay around. Dylan Stoner was our best receiver, so I will like to bring him back on a bit of a smaller deal here. We'll make it a little over $1 million a season, and he'll stick around. And after going through every player we had to negotiate with, here's everyone we're keeping. Shaka Toney, clearly, he's our highest overall at 77. J.R. Reed, a 72. Those guys are going to be higher overalls than anyone we're going to be able to sign. Everyone else that we kept, for the most part, was just due to the fact that they're already fairly high in overall for what we're going to be available to do, and they played decently well. So Max Borghi, definitely our best offensive player, keeping him around, plus he's almost a 70. Tanner Muse, one of our starting linebackers, has tremendous speed, is a 68 towards the top of available players we could bring in. Dylan Stoner we're keeping around for a similar reason, just towards the top, and he was our best receiver last year. Tried to keep Seth Williams, he was not interested in coming back. We do keep one of our offensive linemen in Wes Martin, because he played really well for us last year. He's on the older side, we'll see if he ends up being a starter or just a backup. And we're going to keep Jake Cone because he was a comment favorite. People really wanted to see him start when we brought in Luton, and Luton played for a couple games. They said, nope, bring back in Cone, and he finished the season off pretty well. I don't think he'll be our starter going into next season, at least I really hope he's not, but he could service as a good backup for us, and we know how he plays. But now, we need to bring in some guys. So let's head on into open free agency. And for our first round of negotiations, obviously can only negotiate with 5 people at a time for the first round of open free agency. Going after a couple different positions here, and we'll start with corner. As previously mentioned, we cannot sign anybody who is over a 70 overall, so everyone has to be 70 or under. We could obviously draft people higher than that, but cannot sign anyone higher than that. So we will start with some guys who are 70 overall, trying to bring in a big impact. At corner, Ugo Amadi. He has a fair bit of speed, 88, but does have good acceleration at 90, and he has some decent blend of coverage and tackling ability. Not great press, so I'm imagining a slot corner. Tyron Johnson at receiver has some good speed, not the best route runner, but has a decent blend of skills. Plus, at the same time, he's also a former teammate of our current and only receiver on roster, Dylan Stoner. At quarterback, trying to bring in Tyler Huntley, just a do-it-all guy for us who could be our passer as well as our runner if we need to. And he has that ability, 86 speed with 90 acceleration, has decent throw power, does some decent accuracies. I'd like to see what he could do in this offense. Then for 2 offensive linemen, Tyrell Crosby at left tackle and Nick Leverett at left guard, both 69 overall and 27 or younger. So for our first round, no one else has any other offers put in. We'll evaluate these, see if anyone joins, and I would assume all but one do. Yes, that is the case. So that just leaves Tyron Johnson, who is wanting a little bit more money. And after adding a few more guys, still trying to get Tyron Johnson, but we're also offering Oren Burks, who has the highest zone coverage of the inside linebackers, who are a 70 or lower overall. Trying to bring in also Justin Watson, another receiver, 70 overall. Billy Price, a 70 overall center, and then a strong safety Jamar Johnson, who is a 69 overall. Give us an option at safety. We could either play him at free or J.R. Reed at free. Just giving us a couple different options. We have the best offers for any of these guys, so we will evaluate once again. And I think one person signed, and that would be Jamar Johnson. So we could add one more person to the list. And the final guy we will add is Artie Burns, a 70 overall corner who had some of the best press coverage of the available corners to us. Evaluate these offers one more time. And I think Artie Burns joined. Just jump on over just to double check. Yeah, so we end up bringing in 2 corners, our quarterback, 2 offensive linemen, and a strong safety. So we'll sim on over to round 2, and hopefully some of these guys join. But of course, none of them end up signing. So we still have Tyron Johnson, Oren Burks, Marlon Davidson is a new one. He's listed at left end, but would probably play more of a defensive tackle spot. Justin Watson we're still going after. Danny Johnson, a cornerback we're trying to bring in because he had some of the best zone coverage available for the guys available to us. Billy Price, we did have to up our contract offer to at least tie, if maybe be a little bit better than the Panthers. Trying to bring in Kingsley Keke. He was really great for us on the Cardinals franchise we did to open up Madden 23. Trying to bring in Isaiah Ford, who had the best available medium route running. And then Joel Iyebuniye, I think is how it's pronounced. I looked it up, already kind of forgot a little bit what's new on this channel, but trying to bring him in because he also had some of the better zone coverage while also having a little bit of youth to him, basically not older than 30 and having some speed higher than an 80. And then also trying to bring back Caleb Huntley. We are in a little bit of a competition with him and the Falcons. So evaluate. We'll see if anyone ends up coming in. Justin Watson does join. Billy Price finally accepts. And we do get Joel Iyebuniye. Mbuniye, I think is how it was. Mbuniye, yeah, something like that. So we've gotten better at linebacker, that's for sure, by bringing in a couple guys who can cover, or at least one guy that could cover. I think we're still in negotiations with one more, that is Oren Burks. Also still trying to bring in Tyron Johnson. He does now have a little bit of interest from the Saints, but not as much as us. Everyone else we're still in the lead for. And with 2 evaluations still left in the second round. Let's see, who did we add? We added Kimoko Turi. I was trying to find some speedsters as edge rushers. Same goes for Jabari Zuniga. And trying to add another guy on the offensive line. Again, just trying to make the best offensive line we could possibly have. So we're going to add Chuma Odoga, maybe? Probably not, but we're going to give an evaluation here. Once again, see if anyone joined. And it looked like 4 people did join. And we do get Zuniga. Chuma also joins. And we get Brock Wright. I forgot to mention him. We did offer a tight end as well. And he has a lot of speed, so might be taking over that smart role who we didn't end up bringing back. Just trying to find someone who can do all jobs of a tight end, so we don't have to have 3 different tight ends to do all the different jobs. But we now can offer 4 more people for 1 more evaluation period in the second round. Billings is a new guy, trying to bring him in. He was a part of our Texas state only challenge. We ended up not bringing him back for the current season going, but he still played fairly well and can do a job for us here. Doug Costin, another just all-around defensive lineman, could play on the inside or the outside, most likely on the inside with 62 speed. Traven Howard, another guy who was a part-time player, I believe, for the Texas state only challenge. Trying to bring him in. He has some zone coverage ability and some pretty good speed. And trying to bring in a fullback, a true fullback, so our tight ends don't have to play a couple different positions. 1 more evaluation to run here. And half of them signed. Still looking to side Traven Howard, Isaiah Ford, Turi, Oren Burks, and Tyron Johnson. And for our final round, we're just going to go through all the evaluations. If they join, fantastic. If they don't, that's fine. Still trying to bring in Tyron Johnson, no other offers. We are trying to bring in MJ Stewart Jr. at free safety. Does currently have another offer from San Francisco. We're pretty much tied. Still trying to bring in Turi, no other offers. Trying to bring in Micah Kaiser to at least be some sort of linebacker for us. Don't know if it would be a starter or rotational guy. No other offer. Same for Josh Oliver. Isaiah Ford still hasn't signed. Trying to bring in Bo Melton, another receiver. Blake Cashman, another linebacker with a lot of speed. We also need our kickers and punters, so Michael Pilardi at punter, Dane Cruikshank at strong safety, Brian Johnson at kicker, Traven Howard, still trying to bring him back, no other offers. Marcel Harris, trying to bring in him. Trill Williams, we're trying to bring back. He has some of the best zone coverage, especially for a younger guy. Cade Johnson, we're also trying to bring back to be another rotational receiver for us. And Kevin Harris as Huntley, our former running back, did not re-sign with us. So we're trying to bring in someone to possibly fill his role. So let's evaluate. We're at least tied with first or in first for all of these guys. So I would imagine a lot of them just signed. We'll go ahead and jump through the last remaining bits of these evaluations as one more signs, and now all of them have chosen. So here is what our first free agent class looks like. A lot of 70 overalls, topping off as high as we could possibly bring someone in. At corner, we have Ugo Amadi. We did finally bring in Tyron Johnson at receiver. Oren Burks joins at middle linebacker. Marlon Davidson at left end. Some of these guys on the defensive line are subject to be moved around. Same for offensive line. But Davidson joins on defensive line. Turi joins on the defensive line, same as Zuniga. We did bring in Christian Watson. Another corner in Danny Johnson. Center Billy Price. Another corner in Artie Burns, another defensive lineman in Andrew Billings, linebacker Blake Cashman, receiver Bo Melton, offensive line Chuma Adoga, D-line Doug Costin, receiver Isaiah Ford, Jamar Johnson at safety, tight end Josh Oliver, Kingsley Kiki at D-line, Micah Kaiser at linebacker, offensive line Nick Leverett, as another offensive lineman in Tyrell Crosby, quarterback Tyler Huntley, punter in Michael Pilardi, safety Dane Cruikshank, kicker Brian Johnson, another linebacker in Joel Iyebuniye, I think again is how it's pronounced, linebacker Traven Howard, fullback Nick Bodden, linebacker Marcel Harris with tight end Brock Wright, Trill Williams at cornerback, Cade Johnson at receiver, and Kevin Harris at running back. So we brought in a lot of guys. We only had about 10 on roster. We'll still have to bring in some more guys, but it's now time to switch focus to the draft. And one of the biggest thing when it comes to the draft is that we do not get our first round pick. We have to trade it away, taking on basically the lowest overall on any team that we end up getting, because that was what was handed down to us. That was one of the penalties that started this series. We do not get our first round pick in season 1. So let me pull up a random NFL team. So I just pulled up a random spin wheel on my phone for NFL teams, gave it a spin, and we will get whoever that is, the Philadelphia Eagles. They didn't have a fantastic year, at least equivalently so to the real life, but they will be getting our first round pick. So let's manage our roster. Trade center, we'll be trading the Eagles away our first round pick. And here is the trade. Their lowest overall player is quarterback Ian Book. So we'll be trading away the 7th overall pick for a 54 overall quarterback. I don't imagine they would say no. Luckily they don't. So that part is done. We could cut Ian Book later because technically we shouldn't have him. It was basically just giving away our pick as a lottery. Every team had the same possible outcome. So now with us not picking till the 4th round, might as well just go ahead and jump all the way back to the 4th round. So to our next user pick we go, because we're not allowed to trade up. We're not allowed to trade down. We just have to use our picks and find basically the BPA. And if we look at the board here, there actually are still some round 2 to 3s available. we could go with anyone. There's not a specific need we need to go for. There is a free safety, 2 free safeties, and a DT in the round 2 to 3, and they don't necessarily look too enticing. And as for the offense, there is not anyone above a day 3 available. As we run through the defense here, we do have some DTs that are some round 2 to 3s, 3 to 4s. No one that has any particular ratings that stand out. At left outside linebacker, there is a speed rusher in the 3rd to 4th round and a pass cover backer. There are some inside linebackers in round 3 to 4, but no one has very good coverage. There is an outside linebacker in the round 3 to 4 with B to Ds for his pass rush ability. A to C block shedding. I mean, it is intriguing. Trevor Davis has some decent speed, not a whole lot of strength. He is 21 years old, out of Idaho. So, I mean, that could be a decent option. And there is a day 3 tight end that I do think I like in Jason Klein. 6'4", 250, 23 years old, out of Cal. He has pretty good strength, speed, acceleration, and as an athlete for a tight end, really solid. His awareness is a little bit low, but he has a very balanced skill set that includes some A to C's, some B's to D's. There is also a more possession-style tight end out of Alton Campbell, Illinois State, 22 years old. He has, again, really good speed, really good strength. His skill set's very similar with a lot of A to B, or a lot of A's, B's, at least as the top ends. So he has 2 really good tight ends that could end up going pretty early, and they are pretty high up in terms of available corner or available tight ends. But I think we are going to go with a tight end as our first draft pick in this series, Alton Campbell. He has some really good athleticism, really good size, 6'6", 271. Running close to a 4.6 flat. So, I mean, he's pretty good across the board from what we could see. We know he could catch. We know he has the potential to be a good run blocker as well. With really good short route running. Alton Campbell is a normal dev with 84 speed, 78 strength, 83 acceleration with 76 change of direction and agility. And as we jump on over to our next pick, well, again, BPA, see who's the best players available. At running back, a couple different options, but primarily I have some guys on my favorite board that seem pretty intriguing. There are mostly power backs with one elusive guy in Marcus Turbin. And as for these running backs, 2 of them I think are pretty tied, and that is Kyle Lowry out of Iowa and Marcus Turbin out of Wisconsin. Very similar builds. One's just an inch taller, but a 1 pound lighter. The other inch shorter, but 1 pound heavier. So we'll take a look at these 2 and see if we have a favorite. So Kyle Lowry, 22 years old, and he shows good ball security at times. Runs about a mid 4.4. Has really good bench reps and pretty decent in terms of the rest of his athletic standpoints. As for what he could do with the ball, A, ball carrier vision, B, break tackle and carrying, has B, trucking and stiff arm, with A to C spin, C to F juke. Marcus Turbin, a little bit older, 23 years old. He is a little bit faster, a little less strong, but about the same. And for the most part, again, the athletic standpoint, just about the same for both of these guys. Both have B, trucking and stiff arm. A, ball carrier vision, and B, carrying. We don't know about the break tackle, A to a C, so it could be better, it could be worse. Juke moves we do know is a D, so not going to be great there, with spin moves being a B to a D. So, I mean, these guys are very similar. So it really comes down to, do we take Kyle Lowry, and we know his break tackle is a B, or do we go Marcus Turbin, who could potentially have better break tackle, but could also potentially be less. So it's very hit or miss. I think we end up going with the faster potential player that is Marcus Turbin. He ran at fastest a 4.39 with also putting up 28 bench reps consistently. He also has the higher upside potentially. So Marcus Turbin is our second pick. A normal dev with 90 speed, 80 strength, 88 acceleration, 86 agility, 79 change of direction, and 77 jumping. he could very well take over the role that Huntley was playing for us last year. With our 6th round pick, potentially looking to go at either offense or defensive line, Easton Acosta, listed as a right tackle, 6'5", 340, 23 years old, out of Iowa State. High motor, doesn't get flagged much. That's all good. He has pretty good strength, very slow, but is at least a little agile. So there's an interesting athletic standpoint. B awareness, B run block, A lead block. Those are the things we know for sure, with C pass block power and run block power. Now, is he listed? He is listed as a power guy. So that would tell me most likely the finesse is either going to be a C or potentially D's. If he's going to be slightly weighted towards the power, he's an interesting guy. We might come back to him. Also listed at right tackle is Tommy Haskins, 6'5", 311, 23 years old, out of Syracuse, high motor, won't get flagged much. They really don't do a good job of separating a lot of these offensive linemen. Really fast, just a good athlete across the board with some okay strength, and he is listed as an agile offensive lineman. We know he has B awareness, A lead block, with C pass block power, D run block power, C run block finesse. Pass block power is going to be at best a C, with run block being a B to a C. I feel like the other guy might potentially be a little bit better. On the defensive line, looking for someone to make a tandem as a strong pass rush tandem with Shaka Toney. Keenan Dillard. He's a potential undrafted who's 6 foot, 242, 21 years old, out of LSU. He's pretty quick, does not have much strength. His skill set is A tackle, which is pretty nice for an edge. F block shedding, so we know he's not going to help us out much there, with B power moves. He also has the potential to have B to C finesse moves, and he is listed as a power rusher. So I would imagine finesse moves is C or a D. Does have A to C hit power, A to C impact block, and A to C awareness with B to D play rec. Taylor Sims, listed at a DT spot. He's also an archetype of a run stopper, which is intriguing, and we'll get to that in a second. He's 6'4", 296, 23 years old, out of South Carolina. He's not very quick, not super strong, but I say he doesn't have a very high top end speed, but he is quick. He has agility and change of direction. His skill set is intriguing because, like I said, listed as a run stopper, has C block shedding but B finesse moves, and has a potential to have B to D power moves with F play rec. Not great there, and D awareness. So he's not a very smart guy, but he has some raw skill sets. Now there is still Trevor Davis, a round 3 to 4 projection. We're in the 6th round. 6'3", 250, 21 years old, out of Iowa. I believe we briefly talked about him earlier. He has good speed, not fantastic strength for moving down to the D line, but he does have A to C block shedding with B to D finesse and power moves. His awareness is a C, tackling is a D, which is a little bit concerning. Listed as a power rusher. There's a lot of upside there, but if listed as a power rusher, I would imagine block shedding is a C, finesse at best a C or a D, with power moves being a B. So potentially the left end could be just as good, if not possibly better. We just know for sure he's not going to help us out in run stopping, while Trevor Davis might be able to do so. And he is around 3 to 4, might not be there for the next pick, while the other edge rush could potentially be there. So we'll catch the falling outside linebacker Trevor Davis with our 6th round pick. He is a normal dev, 79 speed, 72 strength with 87 acceleration. He's also 21 years old, so has a lot of time to get better. And he's also still there with our 7th round pick. He could potentially be the best possible player we have left. I'll run through, see if there's anyone else intriguing. And no, after going through the entire board, no one I think could have as good of an impact as Keenan Dillard might be able to give us. I know he's a listed potential undrafted, but he has some very intriguing ratings. So we're going to give him a go. He's a normal dev with 77 speed, 71 strength, 81 acceleration, and 80 agility. Now it's time to see how good these guys all are. And we do hit on some pretty decent players late in this class. We have a 70 overall in Marcus Turbin, who is actually our highest overall running back. Dillard is a 69, was our second highest overall player. We chose to go with Trevor Davis before him, and he's a far less overall. And the tight end we picked up, the first pick, Alton Campbell, 68 overall. That's where we will start. So none of these guys are anything higher than a normal dev, so no development traits added to the team. But Alton Campbell comes in with a pretty decent spread here. I mean, has good speed, has good catching. I mean, the run blocking needs some work, but overall, I think it's a solid option for us and will fit very well in with the team. We like to go to our tight ends, so that works for us. Marcus Turbin, our 5th round pick, like I said, still a normal dev. No one is higher. But as for the ratings, 90 speed with 88 acceleration, 86 agility, has 77 break tackle, 86 carrying, 83 ball carrier vision, with 78 trucking, 79 stiff arm, and 82 juke. That's a little bit of a surprise. For some reason, I felt like he didn't have a good juke. 74 spin, 79 change of direction, and 80 strength. He's not a great catcher of the football, but that's fine. Injury looks pretty good. Toughness is a little bit low, but we'll probably be splitting a decent amount of the carries with Borgie. So, solid pick there. Then we went to try to save the falling edge rusher in Trevor Davis. And it doesn't look like it was a great choice to go after. He comes out with 71 block shedding, 71 power moves, with 62 finesse moves, 72 strength, 70 tackling. I mean, definitely has a lot of work to do, but fits up well within the roster, may end up being a practice squad player year 1. Now for Keenan Dillard, who I really hope is going to come in and make a big splash like Shaka Toney. Comes in 77 speed, 81 acceleration, 71 strength, has 82 tackle, pretty good, 80 agility. Awareness is down a little bit because morale is hitting him, so it's actually a 73. He has 64 finesse moves, 55 block shedding, but does have 75 power moves. That's honestly a very similar skill set to what Shaka Toney started with. Just has less speed. We'll be playing on the opposite side, but I think that might be a pretty good pick. So those are our 4 draftees. There's not a lot. There'll be more in future drafts and we don't have to give away our 1st round pick. The Commanders don't have or didn't have a 2nd and 3rd round pick when I started this series. But for the most part, we picked up 2 starters and a rotational guy in Marcus Turbin, with a potential guy to try to develop in Trevor Davis, but will most likely be a practice squad at best depth player. And to wrap out the episode, we'll take a final look at the roster. Tyler Huntley, the new starting quarterback, with Jack Cohn backing up. At running back, Marcus Turbin, like I said, comes in as our highest overall, will not be the number 1 running back. That will still be Max Borgie unless proven otherwise. Turbin will still get a good heavy rotation, so that way they could both stay healthy. We then also found Jeffrey Hales and Kevin Harris we signed in open free agency. He might actually end up getting cut, and we'll stick with 3 running backs who are all pretty young. Granted, Kevin Harris is also pretty young, so we might stick with the 4. We actually have a real fullback this year in Nick Bodden. And at receiver, we have a handful of players that might not all make it to the final roster, but Justin Watson new, Tyron Johnson new, Bo Melton new, Isaiah Ford is new, as well as Manny Fox, who we found after the draft. Pretty high overall, 22 years old. Dylan Stoner comes back. Jesus Baca, we also found as a undrafted free agent. Eric Dillon, same thing. And then we brought back Cade Johnson. He's at the very bottom. There's a lot of younger guys with higher overalls. I don't think he's going to make the final roster. At tight end, Josh Oliver is the highest overall, with Alton Campbell just behind him, and I feel like we might go ahead and just start Alton Campbell and get the young guy developing. We also brought in Brock Wright, which rounds out the tight end group. Starting at left tackle will be Chuma Edonga. Backing up, Dawson Deaton returns. Left guard Wes Martin was a starter for us last year, will be again this year with RJ Bradshaw backing up. At center, a new player, Billy Price. Right guard, new player Nick Leverett. We also found undrafted rookie Cameron Allen to back up. And right tackle, another new player in Tyrell Crosby. Over at the left end, Shaka Toney continuing his dominance we hope next season. Backing up, Jabari Zuniga is a new guy. Kamoko Turi, new guy. We drafted Keenan Dillard, so potentially one of these older guys, I'm thinking maybe Turi, we end up cutting when it gets to regular season, just so we could help try to develop Keenan Dillard a little bit more. Trevor Davis, like I said, most likely headed to the practice squad. At right end, Kingsley Kiki, a new guy. We did end up bringing back Benning Patoe. He was still available after the draft, so we brought him in, and we found undrafted rookie Tevin Bethel. Now at DT, you saw me sign all of these players. They were all at left or right end. I moved them to DT. That did put 3 of them above the 70 overall for who we could sign. They were at 70 or below when we did sign them, but after changing positions, they went up. Let me know in the comment section, do we keep them or do we replace them with guys who we know that would be coming in 70 overall or lower at DT? I'll leave that up to you guys. But as it stands now, Andrew Billings is a new guy we brought in. Marlon Davison, another new guy. Doug Costin, a new guy. And I feel like it's Chris, but just a weird way of spelling it. I don't know. Tonga, another new guy. At left outside linebacker, Micah Kaiser is new. After moving him over from a middle linebacker, he did go up to a 71. So you could also let me know, do we keep him or do we start Tanner Muse, who did start for us last year? At middle linebacker, new guy Oren Burks, as well as Iyenbanowe, I think is what it was. Iyenbanowe? I'm going to keep pronouncing that wrong, just like I do a lot of these names. Traven Howard, also new. At right outside linebacker, we brought in Blake Cashman, Marcel Harris, and we did end up bringing back Jeremiah Gemmel. He played pretty well for us last year. He is also a little bit younger than Harris with not much of an overall difference, so Harris might end up getting cut. At cornerback, we have 3 new guys to return. Ogo Amadi, Artie Burns, and Danny Johnson all up top, with Trill Williams and AJ Parker returning. At free safety, we moved over Jamar Johnson from strong safety, and he'll get the start there. He's also a fairly young guy. We did find undrafted rookies Chad Hackett and Chauncey Abraham. At strong safety, J.R. Reed returns as a starter with a backup in Dane Cruikshank. And new kickers Brian Johnson at kicker and punter Michael Pilardi. So that is what the current roster looks like. In the next draft class, we will have all of our picks, at least if nothing crops up in the meantime. Like I said, you guys could always leave a comment as some sort of penalty for some specific reason. A player was caught doing something they weren't supposed to, the organization was caught doing something we weren't supposed to, and we have to lose picks because of that. That's all up to you guys. You could just send them in the comment section below. But through this entire offseason as it stands now, we move up from a 63 overall up to a 68. That can go up as we cut the lower overall players. It could also drop a little bit. But that is the first offseason of the Washington Commanders. We added a lot of new players, and we'll continue to add new players if other players aren't getting the job done. That's the whole part of this series, is really just to see a rotation of guys until we find someone who gets the job done, similar to what we've seen from Shaka Toney and Max Borghi. So make sure you guys are hitting that subscription button if you're watching on your phone, the little bear icon on the bottom right, or if you're watching on your computer, scroll down, tap that subscription button. But both of you, no matter what you're watching on, make sure you're tapping that bell icon. That way you're notified of when my videos go live. This series posted every Monday and Thursday, with the state-only challenges posted every Wednesday and Saturday. So 4 videos a week, 2 series, a lot coming at you. Make sure you leave those comments like I said, and until next time, we'll see you guys later. Bye.